Hello everyone, welcome to Inspirational Explorer. In this tutorial video, I'll be showing us how to create this awesome design for Weekend. In case this is your first time and you are new to Photoshop, then I would like to make reference to the previous tutorial video that I created on Photoshop. I would like you to go through it and learn the basic things that you need to know, because I will not be doing that explanation again. I'll just take us through the process of creating this design. And if you are completely new to design, you've never done design and you want to make use of Photoshop for the first time, I can also make reference to the Canva tutorial class that I created. Check the link in the description below. Check the link in the description below. Make sure you go through that and maximize it for your benefit so that you can understand everything I'll be doing right here. Without any further ado, let's get started. The first thing I need to do is to download some certain assets that I'll be using in this tutorial video, and that is this image and the bell icon that I make use of. You can decide to create the bell icon from scratch, but I would advise you to just go through freepik to download, since we have people that have already created this for us. Right on my browser, I will open freepik, which I already have opened there. Then I'll search for this. You can check the description below for the word that I use in generating this image, or I can also make this available for us. It's also an option. Check the link in the description below for every of the assets that I will be using in this tutorial. When I put in this prompt, I have this image, then I click on it, I downloaded it just the way I explained in some of our previous tutorial class in respect to designing. Also, I search for bell icon and I have this. You can check the link in the description below to download this as well. So that's just the explanation of how to download this. Let's move further to the designing process. The first thing to do is to create a new Canva. I can just go ahead to File, then click on New, or just Control N on your keyboard. Hit Control N on your keyboard to create a new Canva. With this, I'm just going to work with 1080 by 1080 pixel by width, 1080 by height as well. The resolution, I would like to work with 300 resolution to have a better quality and sharp image. I'll just name this Weekend Example. With this done, I'll work with RGB as our color space. Then the color profile, I'm working with working XRGB. Then create this. I would like to zoom in by holding Alt on my keyboard and zoom in, or I just double click on this hand icon, then I have it all zoomed in. I'll just zoom out a little bit by holding Alt on my keyboard, then scroll down a little to make it zoom out a little for better view. The next thing is to bring in our image. I'm going to go to File, then Place Embedded, Other Place Embedded. I'll select the image, then Place. We have it right there. Or you can just manually bring it in from your file. I'll just hold and drag it and place it. The same process, just the same way. Since I did one of these, I will be deleting this. To remove the background, we have easy way to go about that. You can just make use of the selection tool, as I explained in the previous tutorial video. Then click on Select Subject. Then once you have this subject selected, you can just duplicate it. Then you have the background of it immediately. Or the other way around, you can go about this is to, let me select the Move tool, right click on this and rasterize this layer. Once you have it rasterized, click on Remove Background. Just that way, whichever way works for you, it's fine. I'll just like to work with the quick selection option since I'll be leaving the background in this tutorial video. The next thing I need to do now is to transform this layer. I can click on Ctrl T to transform it, or this other way around, I'm going to click on Show Transform Control. With the Transform Control selected, I'm going to adjust this. It's going to automatically adjust. Should in case your version of Photoshop is adjusting this way, like it's stretching it, you might want to hold down Shift while dragging, then it's balanced proportionately. But this is the latest version of Photoshop and it's working very fine without me having to hold down Shift to adjust this. With this well positioned, can just bring it up a little more. Then I'm going to select this option right here. Once I have it selected, I'm going to click on the drop down menu. Then I will select canvas. With canvas selected, I can easily position my objects to the center, just that way on the Canva. The next step now is to change the color of this shirt. And the best thing to do is to go to hue and saturation, then make color correction with that. To do this very fast, I'm going to click on the adjustment layer. Right here, I'm going to select hue and saturation. With hue and saturation selected, I'm going to clip this down to the image alone. What we are saying is that only the image should be affected. Anything underneath this is the only one that should be affected. Then I'm going to click on colorize since I'm not working with any color. If I want to change the hue, remember when I was explaining the color theory in our first class of designing that I explained the elements and principles of design. I said that we can change the hue of a particular color. Now to change the color of the shirt, we can just click on this. Then we begin to work with the hue. And you see that as I'm changing the hue, it's changing as well. Everything that is red in the image keep changing with the hue. In order to save us the time of having to adjust the color, having to select one, fix one, do that, and this and that, just Control Z and just select this. I'm going to click on colorize. With colorize selected, we have this. Then you can just set this to 0, then this to 0 as well. And we have that perfect feel and color over here. The next thing is to sharpen this image, work on this image, and just make it better a little. I'm going to apply 3 steps to this. The first thing is I'm going to convert this to smart objects. Once I have it converted to smart objects, I'm going to come to filter. Under filter, one of the reasons why we convert it to smart objects is so that when we want to adjust whatever we just did to it, it will be easy for us to adjust. I'm going to come to sharpen. Under sharpen, I'm going to select smart sharpen. With this selected, I'm going to set the amount to 234. Just copy the value that I have here, 0.7, then 6. Make sure it is Gaussian blur. Then I'm going to click on OK. With this done, the next thing to apply to this is to duplicate it, which is the second step. Once I have it duplicated, then I will go to our filter once more. Under filter, I'm going to select noise. Under noise, I will go to reduce noise. With reduce noise, set the strength to 10, the preserve details to 17, the reduce noise color to 19, this sharpen detail to 34. You can decide to go beyond this. It is left to you. You can see if I zoom in a bit more, you will see before and after. Let me zoom in a bit more, see before. Once you hold this down, you will see before. You can see all those rough edges, but see after, it's smoothing it out. Look at this part of the face. It's smoothing it out. You can see the effects that it did to that. I'm going to click on OK. With this done, I'm going to add one final punch. I will select filter, then go to order. Under order, select iPass. With iPass selected, make sure it is set to 3.1. Yes, you can see that it actually make it a grayscale effect. To resolve this, I'm just going to select the blending option. Under the blending option, I'm going to give it soft light. If you look at other options, you see what they do. They keep changing the blending option. Add light, overlay. Yes, overlay would have been nice, but it has sharp edges, which I don't want. You can add light to it, gives it more add edges, which I don't want any of that. I'm just going to work. You can keep setting the preference that you like. It's based on your preference, but I'm just going to work with soft light. With soft light, I think this is fine. Now we have an issue, right? We have it colored, which shouldn't be. With this is what I'm going to do. Very quick one. I'm going to click on this and this. Then I'll have it grouped. Once I have it grouped, you want to make sure that you unclick this. You can undo that just because you see what I did. When I grouped it, it grouped the adjustment layer as well. To undo that, just Ctrl Z. Then I'm just going to click on this to unclip this hue and saturation. I'm just going to group this so that it will not affect every other thing I will be bringing in. Then I will select this and limit it to the image, the clipping max. With that, we have it resolved. Now to the next step is to bring in our text. I'm going to click on text. With the text selected, I'm just going to type in the first word that we have there, THAT, that. The color profile I use is this. You can copy the X code just as I have here, 1515ADE. That's my name. Right. I'm just going to click OK. With this done, since we have the Canva, it helps us solve many issues. I'm just going to click on this. It's going to center, align it. I'm going to leave the font size to just 14. That is exactly how we'll be working with. With this, I'm going to adjust this down a bit more so that hold shift while adjusting it so that it can be center aligned. It can be a bit far from the top. Remember, always avoid the top. The next thing is I'm going to duplicate this just a bit farther away from it. Then I'm going to type the next text that we have, which is weekend. You can download this font for free in that font or any of the font, open fonts that you can download right there on the browser. Just search for Great Theory. I'm going to set this font size to 20. 20 should work. Yes, just right there. You see, we're having that view. This won't be too far. Then the next thing is to bring in our next text. I'll duplicate this. With this duplicated, I go down Alt key, yes, to duplicate. Just hold your Alt key on your keyboard, then drag it down. You have it duplicated. However, you can click on Ctrl J, then drag it to the position, but that is a whole lot of stress. You can just do this by arranging it that way. The next thing now is to rename this. I will name it as Vibe. Okay, now we have this equivalent with this. I'm just going to increase this more, probably to like 28. I think 28 should work for this. Yes, we have that selected. Now to arrange it proportionally, you don't have to worry too much about whether it's aligned or not. To set this well aligned, just select these three texts by holding Control or Shift. Anyway, if you hold Control, you will select it individually. But if you click on this and hold on Shift on your keyboard, with this, you should be able to align everything together. Then this time around, you want to set it to selection. The difference between selection and Canva is that Canva position it on the canvas. It position it on the canvas to be centered, to be left and centered. For instance, if I select this now, it's going to make everything well centered. With this selected, I just want to check whether it is well distributed. Just click on the distribution. You see that it is well distributed. Everything is aligned. If it was not well distributed, let's say for instance, I have this position right there, and I have this position right here, and I click on the three now, then I select the distribution. You see that it distributes them proportionately, the same gap, the same spacing between them. I'm going to undo that because that's not what I want. Yes, I love the way this is coming out nice. We are getting there, right? The next thing is to create the effect at the background, which is the vibes effect. I'm going to click on these vibes. I will hold Alt to duplicate it and bring it down here. Now to work with the layer, I want your attention should be right on the layer. How to position this is just the same way we position it on Canva. You can just click on this and hold and drag it down behind the image because we want the effects to be behind the image. I'm just going to hold and drag it and position it right here. You can see this, that we have it behind the image. Then we are just going to do the same thing right there. With this done, I'm going to increase the size of this font. I'm going to increase it to around 58.96. I think that should work for me. 58.96. Yes, I'm just going to delete the E and X. I only need the VIB. I'm going to delete the E and X. I'm just going to select that. I'm going to change the color to a gray color. Just copy the hex code that I use here, 818181. Then I'm just going to click OK. This gray color is exactly what I'll be using right here. Now I'm going to duplicate this 4 times. I will hold down Alt and duplicate this. Make sure the gap between them is not too much. Hold down Shift to position it properly. I'm going to duplicate this as well. Hold down Shift while duplicating, then duplicate the final one. Hold down Shift while duplicating. With this well done, I'm just going to select the 4 texts, then group them together. Then I will select and rename it as Vibes. Copy. Let me just rename it as Vibes. Then I'm going to duplicate this. I want to keep this should the case I accidentally do something wrong. Then I can always come back to my reference. I'm going to work with the Vibes copy, right? I'm just going to right click on this. Before I right click, let me just rename this, double click on this and delete the copy. Then I'll change it to whatever I want to change it to. Vibes underscore. With that selected, I'll just right click on it, then convert to smart objects. Once I have it converted to smart object, I can just move this up a little bit more. Then at this point, let's start our creativity journey. Right here, I'm just going to come to edit. Under edit, I want to work with perspective wrap. With perspective wrap selected, I'm going to click on this from here. You might want to hide this image. Let me undo this. You might want to hide this image so that you'll be able to see everything you are working on. With this perspective wrap selected, I'm going to highlight this from here, hold and drag. Just make sure it's covering to this point. Then drag it down to the last point. Make sure everything is well positioned the right way. Then you can click on wrap. With wrap selected, then you can draw this up to come this way. Yes. Draw this down a bit more to come this way, just to create that flip effect. With this, I'm going to click on this as well to bring it down. I'm going to click on this as well to bring it up. So we have that kind of window vertical format. Make sure it's at the center. You can bring in your ruler to know exactly when it's at the center. Just follow. I'm following this guide for my eye guide. With this, I think I'm fine. I might just want to adjust this more to bring it up a little. Yes, then it's okay. Just check the mark. Then with that done, I'm going to bring back our image for us to see where we are. Okay, it's getting interesting. Then I will set this opacity to 20 right here. Just set the opacity to 20. You can click on the drop down, set it to 20, or you type 20, or just hit 2 on your keyboard with layer selected. Then you have it right there. The next thing is to duplicate this very layer. I will hit Ctrl J on my keyboard to duplicate this. Then I will Ctrl T to transform this. Once you click on Ctrl T is going to change the visible layer. Don't worry, it's going to set back once we are done. I'm going to right click on this. Then I will say flip horizontal. Once I have it flipped horizontally, then I will bring it right here to this point where just hold down shift while dragging so that it can be well positioned. Then it this, you will have it just that way. Now behind this image, you should see something interesting like it. Yes, you have this just right there. This is quite interesting. That is the vibe that we've created right here. The next thing now is to bring in our rectangle, right? The rectangle that you see right here, this very one. Then I'm just going to hold the rectangle shape and just create this line from this point to this point, just left to you as you want. Then I'm going to stop at this point. Give it the same feel that we have right here. I'm just going to give it this feel. You can set your feel right here. You can also set your feel right here. Whichever process you want to follow through, there's no rule to that. Then I'm going to give it a rounded corner. I'm going to give it a rounded corner of 20. Just click on this 20. With this, we have the rounded corner selected. Or you can just hold this rounded corner and set your rounded corner radius as you want. But I love it that way. Now, the next thing is to position this at the center. Make sure this is still on canvas. In case it is not, set it to canvas. I'm going to click on this and set it to canvas. We have it just well positioned at the center. Now to the next thing, I'm going to type the text that we have there. I'm going to select the text to option, then click right here. I'm just going to set it to 6. It's automatically set to 6. Then I will type in salary earner with halo. Just type whatever you love right there. Now, this will give you a perfect perspective of what I was trying to explain the other time. With this, I'm going to click on Canva. It's going to set it to the center. Now, this is positioned, but it is not well positioned the way I want it. If I click on this one and this right now, while it's still on Canva, and I select this, you see that it is positioned at the center. But the moment I select this, it's going to position it in the wrong position, and that is not what I want. What I want is just for it to center it by the vertical centralization and the horizontal centralization. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just click on this and click on selection. Once we have selection, I'm going to click on this. We have it centered. horizontally. Now let's check if it's centered vertically. I'm going to click on this. Then we have it centered vertically. You can see undo, redo. I still have a text missing right here. I'm just going to click that continuous. Yes, well positioned. The reason why everything is on caps is because the font style does not give room for small letter. Everything is just caps. I will do a little positioning right here. I'll just hold this and drag this down here. Yes, I almost forgot that we have to bring in our bell. Yes. When I downloaded the bell file, we have it in an EPS format, right? Which we need Illustrator to open that. However, if you don't have Illustrator installed on your system, don't worry. Just check the link in the description below for the asset. You can just extract it from there and make use of it. I'm just going to double click on this. It's going to open up in our Illustrator file. For those that follow the illustration class, I explained something on the selection tool and direct selection tool. This time around, I'll be working with the selection tool. Because if I work with the selection tool, the direct selection tool, we only select a part of the design. And that's not what I want. I will have to keep selecting shift to select all the layers that I want. But with the selection tool, I will just click on this and it have all of this selected. With this selected, just check that it is checked on the layer. Sorry for that word. I'm just going to click on this and copy it. Once I have it copied, I'll come right here to Photoshop. Right here in Photoshop, I'm going to click Control V on my keyboard. Once I hold Control V on my keyboard, it's going to make this visible. Then hit OK. We have it very thick and bold. Just make sure it's set to Smart Objects, the process I followed. Then have it all scaled down. Then have it turned this way a little. Scale it down more. Then bring it up to the position that you like. Double click on it. Or the next thing is to click on this object and add motion blur. It's going to make it look as if it's in motion. Right here, I will go to filter. Under filter, I will select blur. With blur selected, click on motion blur. You can see that right here. So what I'm going to do now is to first of all reduce the distance to about 7. I think this should work. 7 is fine. Then I'm going to change the direction. You can see the direction that is facing this angle. I'm going to give it, let's say something like 25 should be fine. Let me reduce this. Yes, 25 is fine. Just hit the down arrow key on your keyboard until you have it satisfied to the level you want it. With this, I'm cool. I'm going to click on OK. The next thing now is to duplicate this and rotate it. Remember, you can always hit Ctrl J on your keyboard or just hold down Alt and drag this down here. In this position, I'm just going to rotate it this way. It's going to give you this warning that the smart filter will be temporarily kind of. Just hit OK. Then let's have it rotated this way to this direction. See if it's making an announcement. I think at this point it's okay. Just hit enter or check the mark here. Right here, we are going to change the motion blur as well. Since it's facing this direction, it's not the same as this direction. I'm just going to click on this. Instead of going to filter motion blur, we already have the motion blur on it since we duplicated it. I'm just going to double click on the motion blur smart filter here. Once I have this double click, then you will see the option to change the angle and direction just as we did in the previous one. I'm going to set the angle this time around to 69. Let me reduce or increase the motion blur more so we can have more effects. I'm just going to add just 2 right there. That is perfect. 9. So the motion blur is 9, while the smart filter angle is 69. With this, I can just click this and this by holding down shift and then close this drop down together at the same time. Just click on any of this drop down option. Yes, we have it well organized. The next thing now is to add the final punch, which is our light effect. I'm going to start with the text or image, whichever one you prefer, but let me work with the image first. This is the image. You can just double click and rename it to image right there. I'm going to click right here and select this new option to create new layer. I'm going to create new layer right here. With this, I'll be able to add my brush. Remember, the shortcut for the brush where we are doing the previous tutorial video is B. I'll just click on the brush tool. I will have it expanded by hitting the close bracket. Remember our previous class up to this point. I'm going to give it a color fill. First, let me change the brush option. I'm going to click here under general brush. I will select soft rounded brush. I'll just leave it right there. With this done, the next thing is to work with our color. You can double click right here and change the color, or under your swatches. In case you don't have your swatches on, you can just come to Windows and select swatches right here. Then you have it right there. I will work with this color. You see that automatically our foreground color change. This is our foreground color now. With this done, I'm going to give this a color fill. But first off, I would like to reduce the brush size. Let's say something like this. Or let me expand the brush size a bit more. Let's say something like this. Then I will change the blending option. Blending option. The moment I start changing the blending option, you will see different kind of style that will be added to it. You see, just like that. But this time around, I'm just going to give it. So the option for that is color. I'm going to select the color to give it this saturation effect. Once I have this, I will set my saturation to 30%. Right here, I can click on this and just reduce it to 30%, or select this, I reduce it to 30%. But let me select my move option. The fastest way to go about that is to just hit 3 on your keyboard. Make sure this is unchecked. If you still have this checked and you want to change the color, this opacity, it will not change. So just make sure your move tool is selected and just hit outside the box, select it again, then hit 3 on your keyboard. You have that done. With this effect right here, I'm going to click on the next tool. I will click on another new layer, then I'll select my brush option again. I'm going to create a kind of fill at this point and another fill at this point. With this two fill created, I might want to move this one a bit closer. Let me undo that. With this two fill created, I'm going to change the blending mode to overlay. Right here, I have it set to overlay. If you feel like the saturation is too loud, you can reduce the saturation until you have your preference the way you want it. I think 9 should be fine. 9, I mean 70. Sorry, I don't mean 9. The next thing to do now is to reduce the saturation. If you feel like this is too loud, you can just set the saturation to 70 or whichever one you prefer. And if you love it this way, you can leave it that way. The next thing is to go to our final step. Right here, I'm going to click to create a new layer. Remember that your option is not limited to whatever I do right here. I'm just giving us a guide of how to go about it. Be creative in your own way. Use any kind of blending mode that you love. Just work perfectly for you. I'm going to click on brush option again, which is B for the shortcut. I'm going to click on the brush option, which is B for the shortcut. With this selected, I'm going to reduce the size of the brush by just pulling down our open bracket, or you can just come here and do it manually by reducing the size of the brush the way you want. Whichever way works for you is left to you. I'm going to expand the brush option a bit more. Right here, I'm going to create a fill effect, and over here as well, I will create a fill effect right there. Then I'm going to change the blending mode until I have something that I really love. I think this worked for me. I'll just work with color dodge. With this done, we have our design completed. You can now decide to go more creative, more crazy, more interesting, where you love anything you like to do. But this is the end of the tutorial guide. You can always change the brush color to any color. For instance, if I decide to change this, let me hide this and just create a new layer right here and go for B. And I expand the brush option. And I just decide to change the foreground color by clicking right here and just change it to something around yellow, right? Then click OK. I'll just give it the color fill I want. Then right there, I can just change the blending option to whatever I want to change it to. You see that right there? Then you can decide to work with the opacity and just play around the way you love to work. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial class. In case you have any question, please do well to use the community section or reach out to me in the class. And if you love to join our community, always reach out to me. I'll be more than ready to add you to the community. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.